welcome everybody. Thank you again so much for being here. We're really excited to be doing this character creation session with you as part of Cymera Festival 2020. Yeah, so my name's Louise. I'm a science fiction author, and I'm one half of Tabletop Tales, which is a Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing blog. We write D&D fiction and also articles on kind of how to run the game and how to create characters. And this is our first time doing a sort of a recorded like character creation session. The week after next will be our first kind of D&D live stream. So we're really excited to be here and really pleased that you all could join us. So like I said, I'm one half of Tabletop Tales. The other half is my partner, Camden. He's off camera. There he is. He's managing the technical side of things today. Yeah, he will. You might hear from him if we have any huge technical errors, which, fingers crossed, won't happen. So just to start off with, I was thinking maybe we could all go around. Not that round really has any meaning, given that we're all online, but perhaps we could all take turns introducing ourselves and telling everyone a little bit about you and your experience with D&D and and what you do. So, shall we start with Justin?
Sure. I'm Justin Lee Anderson. I'm the author of Carpet Diem and The Lost War. I have been role-playing on and off for probably about 20 years in lots of different systems, but usually with the same GM who is very kindly leads us by the hand through almost all of it. So I haven't done an awful lot of my own character creation, and I haven't played a lot of actual D&D. So the stuff that I have experience of is not directly this, so I'm looking forward to it. Great.
Barbara?
Yeah, I'm Bob Stevenson. I'm a veterinary surgeon, but I'm a fantasy writer. I haven't actually played Dungeons and Dragons before, on or offline, but I've got some friends that always make little models and talk about it, and it's fascinating. So hopefully, maybe I'll get involved later with it.
Fantastic, Mike.
I'm Mike Carey. Sometimes I write as MR Carey, which is a sort of fairly pathetic pseudonym. I write sci-fi, fantasy, horror, comics, and I used to D&D a fair bit as a student, using a sort of very, very ancient photocopied set of rules, which I think was second edition. And then there was a period of about 30-odd years when I didn't play at all. And then because other members of my family were getting into it, I got back into it, which has been very exciting and pleasurable.
And Lynn.
Hi, I'm Lynn Carey. I've written some books about dragons, and I've also written a couple of books jointly with Mike. And like him, really, I used to D&D a lot in my student days. My brother was the Dungeon Master. Lapsed for quite a few years and have taken it up again recently with lots and lots of enjoyment.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. And it's great to have like a real kind of mix of experience levels. That's fantastic. So just to sort of take you through a bit of background before we start. So what we're going to be doing in this session is we're going to be creating our characters and sort of thinking about our characters like backstories, their flaws and personalities. And these are the characters that we're going to take into our live stream D&D game, which will be the week after next. So some background info on the game we'll be playing. It's going to be a Curse of Strahd game. I don't know if any of you have played Curse of Strahd before, but it's an official Wizards of the Coast campaign with a kind of gothic horror theme. So kind of spooky, creepy, some scares. Think like kind of, lots of undead. Strahd is a sort of evil vampire overlord who kind of controls an entire world. So it's unlikely that your third level, like, new characters will be meeting him in our 2-hour one-shots, but we'll see how things go. So yeah, expect a kind of gothic horror vibe with some scares, but not too much gore. Trying to keep it sort of family-friendly. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to start with rolling stats for our characters. So for people who haven't played D&D before, the stats are strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. So we'll be rolling those one at a time. Then we're going to be everyone's going to pick a race for their character, a class for their character. We'll probably take a quick break then, just to, let people get drinks, etc. After that, we'll come back and we'll start to pick our character's abilities. So what your character is good at, what weapons they can wield, what are their unique talents. And then we'll start doing the really fun creative stuff with your character's backgrounds, your personalities, how you all know each other. And then to finish off, we're going to do the magic item lucky dip. So I've rolled up some unique magic items for your characters to have. I'm going to dole them out. I'm going to warn you up front. Some of them are really fun and cool. Some of them are just bizarre. So we'll see what you will get. So let's start off with rolling stats. So the way, I think we sent out an email about this beforehand. So the way this is going to work is we're going to roll them in order, and we're going to do it by rolling 4 6-sided dice and then dropping the lowest one. And then whatever number that comes up with, that'll be your number for that stat. Do people know how stats work in D&D?
I do, yeah.
I do.
Great. So broadly speaking, the higher the number, the better the stats. So if you're rolling your strength and you roll a sort of a 9, that's quite low. If you get an 18, that's fantastic. So the higher the better. The number that you roll translates into a bonus that kind of goes on to your spells and attacks to make them more likely to hit or to be successful. So it goes up in 2s. So if you get a 10, that means your bonus is 0. If you get a 12, your bonus is then +1. A 14 is +2. A 16 is +3. So it goes up in 2s like that. But don't worry too much about the details. Right now, we just need to remember that high is good, low is bad, and because we're rolling and this is going to be random, hopefully we're going to have a weird and wonderful mix of superpowered characters and characters you maybe can't even read because they rolled a 7 for intelligence. So we'll see how this goes. So let's start with strengths. So does everybody want to... If you have you all familiarized yourself with how the rolling works on Roll20? If you all roll me 4d6s.
Right now?
Yes. And we'll determine all of your strengths. So that is... So because we're doing 4d6, drop the lowest one. That's a 10 for strength from Justin. And an 8 from Mike. Fantastic. That is a -1
from me.
That. A 10 from Lynn. Yep. Have you all enabled 3D dice rolling?
Yeah, how do you actually roll?
So Babs, if you go into the settings, it's the cog at the top right.
Yes, I've done the enabled it, but how do I actually roll?
Oh, okay. So on the left-hand side of the screen, there's a little tiny icon of a dice. If you hover over that with your mouse, then you can choose what kind of dice you want to roll. So in this case, it's a d6, and then choose how many. So in this case, it's 4.
Right.
Oh, brilliant. There you go. So that's an 11.
We are not a strong bunch, are we?
Yeah,
No,
not a
we're
strong
pretty
bunch.
feeble.
Maybe we will have a whole party of spellcasters. So next up is Dexterity. So this is sort of how sort of fast and nimble your characters are. So if you want to roll me some Dexterity rolls. Oh, so a 15 from Mike. That's nice. Not bad at all. That's an 11 from Barbara. From Babs. Great.
Okay, I think mine didn't roll, so I'm going to try again. I think it was Mike's I saw.
Oh wow, I just saw yours, Justin. That's incredible. 16.
I'll take it. Yeah. I'll take a 16.
And 13 from Lynn. Okay, so a little bit better on dexterity generally, guys.
Yeah.
This is good.
At least we can dodge things.
Yeah, I mean, with your strength, I think it's really for the best that you will be able to get out of the way. So next is Constitution. So Constitution is kind of how tough your characters are. It normally determines things like your hit points. So, you know, how much health you have. So if you will want to roll me some Constitution.
Ah!
So 9 from Mike, 15 from Lynn, not bad at all. Let's see, that's 13 from Justin. And 14 from Babs. Okay, so some pretty solid Constitution.
I have a cough.
Except Mike. Your character seems a little sickly, Mike.
If I get a note from my
Louise,
mom,
I make it that I'm only 30. I didn't get to see my dice because they were all under the dice board, but it says I've got 13.
Oh, sorry, Lynn. I think I was counting your dexterity roll as your Constitution roll. You're right. That's a 12 from you for Constitution.
Yeah, sadly.
Still, you know, 12 isn't bad. It's it's better than Mike.
True.
So we've got an interesting bunch shaping up here. I should mention at this point that you do get one free reroll. So if there's one statistic that you've rolled that is really, really bad, you can try re-rolling it. So, you know, bear that in mind. If you've got one terrible stat, you'll have a second chance. So let's have some intelligence rolls now. So intelligence, weirdly in D&D, isn't really kind of how we would define it sort of in real life. Intelligence in D&D kind of refers to how much you know, how knowledgeable you are. So it's usually the statistic that determines how good you are at knowing about the world around you, knowing about sort of the history of the area you're in, the monsters you're fighting. That's what intelligence kind of goes towards. It's also a really important spellcasting stat for wizards. So if you have high intelligence, that's an indication you might be a good mage, a good spellcaster. So let's have some intelligence rolls.
Oh, that's better.
Oh, good, yeah. So brains but not brawn for Mike. And is that a 14 from you, Justin?
I think so.
Solid +2, nice.
It's a shame. The only one of my dice I can see is the 5, and then the others are 2s and 1s.
Oh yeah, I see that now. Oh, 8, yeah, not great. That's unfortunate, Lynn, but a nice 15 from Babs, which is great. Brilliant. So we got an eclectic group shaping up. We've got Mike, sort of all brains no brawn. We've got Lynn, who's got a -1 to intelligence. Maybe you can be he could be like a sort of a big strong fighter with not very much to say for herself, maybe.
And not very much strength, sadly.
Oh, okay. So
I'm going to have to decide whether to re-roll strength or intelligence.
So next we've got wisdom. So wisdom in D&D is that's more like you could define it as common sense. I've often heard it said in D&D that that intelligence is knowing that a tomato is really a vegetable, not a fruit. But wisdom is knowing that you still wouldn't put a tomato in a fruit salad.
Where? Yeah.
Oh yeah, fruit, not a vegetable. Okay, so let's have some wisdom rolls. Oh, so 13 from Mike, not too bad. +1. And 13 from Babs too. Oh, I think we're getting... Oh, okay, yeah, I'm getting a little bit of lag on my screen. Oh, so then 10 from Lynn and a 12 from Justin. So, like, sort of reasonable wisdom. Nobody's terrible with wisdom. Nobody's fantastic either. That's no bad thing. So then our final stat is charisma. So charisma is, well, it speaks for itself. It determines how persuasive you are, how good you are at convincing other characters to do what you would like them to do. It's also a spellcasting stat for sorcerers. So let's see if you guys are a bunch of sort of winning personalities. Ooh.
Ouch.
I think I'm outright obnoxious.
So a mixed bag. We found where Lynn is shining. That's a. 50.
Oh, have I got? Hang on, mine didn't show up. Whoa!
15.
Oh, well, I'm bloody Boris Johnson, aren't I?
Okay, so Lynn and Babs are the sort of the charisma. You can be the spokespeople of the group, because Justin and Mike are, likely to
Offend.
Yeah.
Okay, we all get one reroll, did you say, Lou?
Yeah, so you will get one free reroll if there's a stat that you are particularly disappointed with that you'd like to give another go to. So does anyone want to reroll one of their stats?
I definitely want to re-roll. How are we off as a group for intelligence?
I've got 15. I'm quite smart.
I've got 14.
Okay, so I'll be stupid and I'll re-roll my strength.
Sounds like a
Fair
plan.
enough.
You want to give that a reroll now? Oh, not bad at all. So 13 on the reroll. That's a solid +1.
Good. Okay.
I think I might reroll my strength as well. I'm not overly worried about having no charisma. I'm quite happy to be the grumpy one at the back. That's fine.
Great, so another strength reroll. Let's see how it goes. Nice! These are good rerolls, guys! I was
14, that's better.
I was worried that everyone was going to reroll and get sort of 4 1s.
Would we have had to take them if we had?
Well, it all depends on how mean I'm feeling.
Can I ask what practical effect is a Constitution of 9 going to have? Am I going to constantly be sort of ill in bed when the adventuring is happening?
So you're not going to have very many hit points, which means that when the sort of when the arrows are flying, you might well be the first person to get knocked out. But if you've got a high dexterity, that can balance it out because you'll be harder to hit.
Yes. Okay. So will dexterity affect my armor class then?
It will to an extent, more or less depending on what class you end up picking. So monks add their whole dexterity modifier to their armor class. So if you're very dexterous and you're a monk, that means you're really, really good at dodging and weaving and not being hit. Whereas if you're a sort of bigger, tankier character like a cleric or a big sort of tank fighter, you might be wearing heavy armor that'll limit how much your dexterity helps you.
Gotcha. Okay, I think I might re-roll my Constitution.
Great. Good luck.
I'm just going to go and get a rubber. Be back in a sec.
Oh, for the love of nothing! I got 9 again.
Yeah, it seems that fate has spoken, and you are to be a glass cannon. Babs, would you like to re-roll any of your stats?
Yeah, I'll re-roll my dexterity if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Nice.
Nice.
That's better.
16. Is that our best of the day?
Nice.
Is that best of the session so far? I think.
I also have a 16 dex.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, good strong, good sort of nimble party shaping up. This is excellent. So now that you all have your stats, the next step is to pick a race. So you can do that at random. I think we sent you a roll table. So you can just roll to have a race picked for you at random. You can pick if there's a particular sort of fantasy race you've got your eye on, you can pick one, or you can pick one that sort of leans into your stats or helps make your stats better. So, like, if you want to improve your dexterity, for example, you might be an Aarakocra, which is like a sort of like a bird person, because they get a +2 bonus to their dexterity.
Well, with my strength and constitution, I'm going to be something fairly feeble, aren't I? I wonder if I should be a halfling.
What's your highest stat, Mike?
My highest stat is 15 for intelligence and dexterity.
Okay, so high intelligence, high dexterity. So you might want to sort of think about planning for, say, a spellcasting character. You might want to. So in terms of like a race that would be good, there are various like elven races that give like a +2 to dexterity, and one of them, the high elf, gives a +2 to dexterity and a +1 to intelligence. So you'd be playing to your strengths with a high elf. But if you want to do something more kind of flavoursome, playing to character rather than to like maximising your stats, then that is a totally valid choice as well.
I'm thinking that because I've got low charisma, I could be a really, really snotty elf, like is it Glorfindel in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, Glorfindel, Lord of the Rings. Excellent.
I could be Mr. Obnoxious Elf.
Mr. Obnoxious Elf, love it. So, Mr. Obnoxious High Elf for Mike, I think that's a great choice. So, as a High Elf, you get +2 to Dex, +1 to Intelligence.
Nice.
Good choice. Anybody else have any thoughts on their race? Anyone have like a race in mind?
Could I be
Go ahead.
Could I be a charismatic orc? Are there such?
Of course, yeah, by all means. A winning orc.
I've got 15 for charisma, and my next highest are 13 for strength and dexterity. So I can whack people, and I guess I'm somebody who thinks that they're good at leading.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this.
And I have no intelligence at all.
Yeah, and you're
thoroughly stupid.
You will have even less as an orc, because orcs are actually one of the races that get a like not just bonuses but also minuses. You get a -2 to intelligence if you choose orc.
I don't know. That would make me a 6. That might be more stupid than I can stand.
That's a -2. You will like pretty much literally be as dumb as a rock.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm sounding more and more like Boris Johnson. I don't know. I think I can take that.
Well,
okay, can I be something big and luggy that doesn't lose 2 intelligence points, given how stupid I am already?
That is fair. Well, you can be. There is an orc variant, the Ixalan orc, who doesn't have the -2 to intelligence. I guess that's a sort of, an orc who studies, who puts in the time at school. I give you, let's see, a +2 to strength, and a +1 to constitution.
Okay, that sounds good. And so it's an Ixalan orc.
Yeah, an Ixalan orc. So you are, like, big, not too dumb, and very charismatic. So we've got kind of snotty high elf, who is probably going to look down on this orc with utter disdain. And then we've got this big, strong leader type who's, not the brightest. I'm enjoying it.
Don't worry, orc. I'll remind you to breathe in and out if you forget.
The trouble is that because I'm orcish and charismatic, I'm going to think I'm bright.
I can already see the fireworks.
Okay, so could you remind me of my pluses? +1 to strength.
+2 to strength and +1 to constitution.
Lovely, thank you.
Anybody else have thoughts? Oh, Justin, you had a thought, didn't you?
Yeah, I was just thinking with my stats being mostly dex, but then everything but charisma being quite good, or at least decent, I was thinking possibly half-elf, explaining my lack of charisma as being sort of cast out from both the humans and the elf race and being resentful about it.
Oh, nice. I like that. And we're already kind of getting an edgy backstory creeping in. This is fantastic.
Yeah, so I think half-elf.
Brilliant. So half elf. Is there going to be any rivalry between you and Mike? Any sort of,
Well, I'm going to assume that Justin's half elf, understands that I'm the higher status, and that he will defer to me naturally. I mean,
oh wow, elf racism.
And I'm going to resent him for being arrogant.
Which sounds entirely reasonable.
It's not arrogance. It's an acknowledgement of inherent superiority.
That's what I said.
But you forget neither of you are any damn good because you're not me.
Oh wow! So it's going to be. I'm going to count it as a win for this group if we manage to get through the first part of the session without you all killing each other.
That's probably a good bar. Yeah.
Yep, low bar.
So
Well,
bad.
I thought I might just stick with being human, if that was okay.
Oh, nice, controversial. That almost never happens. I think humans are a great choice. They're a really good kind of all-rounder kind of race to pick because they get a +1 to every single stat.
Oh, that's good.
Nice.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah.
Humans, good choice.
Of course, the half elf could be half human. He doesn't
Yeah,
have to
are
be
you half elf,
somebody else.
half human, Justin, or are you half elf, half something else?
That was my intention. Half elf, half human. Yeah.
Half elf, half penguin has never been tried.
And I suppose,
Reason?
I mean, given that there are Aarakocras, which are bird people, that could actually happen. In the other game that we did the character creation session for yesterday, we have a peacock Aarakocra.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
So big, colourful birdman with an enormous
Whoa.
tail.
Oh, how
Wow.
lovely.
It's gonna be fun.
Excellent.
I'd like to
So
see a
what
picture
would-
of him.
What would my pluses be as a half elf?
Oh yeah, so as a half elf, let me just check for you. So as a half elf, you've actually got a bit more flexibility than most. You get a +1 to any 2 stats of your choice, and you also get a +2 to charisma.
Oh, I could do with that for my charisma. That's handy.
Well, that just leaves me then as on 9.
You could just stand at the back in interactions with NPCs. So a +2 to charisma, Justin, and then a +1 to any 2 of your choice. So what would you
Okay,
like
so
to use?
I'll probably put one on Constitution, which will give me a 14 and therefore a benefit to my pluses, and then maybe one on. What will I put it on? Wisdom, I think. Wisdom and Constitution.
Brilliant. So wisdom and constitution. Excellent. So we've got a nice kind of a nice group shaping up. And a human, which in D&D terms is like a unicorn. Nobody ever plays a human. It's
I thought it might be there.
I think you get a lot of jokes in D&D that everybody wants to play a really kind of out there fantasy race. So you'll kind of have parties that are sort of just 5 tieflings or 5 dragonborns. No one ever picks human, but I think that actually makes human rarer and more exciting, I think. So the next thing to pick is classes. So I don't know have you guys had a chance to have a look at some of the links we sent round. We sent round some summaries of the different classes, how they work, what stats they use as their primary stats. So in D&D, most the way it generally works is that every class has a different stat that is their most important stat, or sometimes they will have 2 stats that are their most important stats. So if you want to play a very kind of min-maxing game where you play towards your strengths, then picking a class that matches with your best stats is a good way to make sure you're very effective. Alternatively, if you'd rather just kind of play to your character, pick a class that you think fits in with who your character is. If you're starting to get a sense of that, that's great too.
Okay. I feel like mine's a bit of a loner, which suggests a ranger, I think.
I like that. Fantastic. I'm really enjoying this kind of slightly kind of edgy a character who's sort of emerging here, like, cast out by both his families. No.
Yeah.
So a ranger, great.
I think so. Yeah, rangers tend to be good with bow and arrow as well, don't they? That tends to be a good.
Yeah, so rangers, there's a lot of different things you can do with a ranger. They're sort of, generally speaking, they've got a kind of Aragorn vibe.
Right.
They can, depending on like how you specialize, you can take a few spells. You can have an animal companion, like a sort of, a big wolf or a bear who follows you around.
Oh, I like that.
It's one of these things that's very like fun from a flavor perspective, but not actually the most like powerful kind of way to take it. Unfortunately, your animal companion doesn't have a lot of hit points, so you don't want to get too attached.
A cannon fodder pet.
Yeah, you can have a cannon fodder pet. It's not ideal, but it's lots of fun from a storytelling perspective. But we'll do kind of specializations after everyone's picked. But yeah, ranger, great choice. So kind of an edgy Aragorn over here.
Yep.
Anyone else have an idea for a class that they would like?
Which is the snootiest of the magic users?
Oh, great question.
Surely wizard.
Definitely wizard. Yeah.
So let me just what's the stat that leads the way for wizards?
So wizards are an intelligence-based spellcaster.
Okay.
So the thing with wizards is they have all of their magic from book learning. They studied hard to be good at casting spells, which means that wizards are kind of the natural enemies of sorcerers, for whom charisma is their spellcasting stat. Sorcerers are just magic because, they're really pretty, or they're really everybody really likes them, so they just have magic powers. And I think, most wizards hate that.
I'm going to be a wizard. And I'm going to basically. I will have spent the last. Elves are very long lived, aren't they? I will have spent the last 20 years at wizard school, and I think I'm all that.
So an arrogant wizard. That's excellent.
I'm going to like you even less, Mike.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
So I see myself as doing a certain amount of smiting, and my big stats now are charisma and strength. What do you think?
Oh, that's an interesting combination. So could be really good for a paladin.
Whoa!
So paladins have strength and charisma as their sort of primary abilities. You can take a paladin in a lot of different directions. You can have a few spells like divine smite, so good for smiting. You can wear I think you can wear heavy armor.
Okay.
Barbarian's another choice that you could have. So Barbarian's main thing is that they're really, really good at hitting things very hard, and they can go into a rage, which makes their attacks even more powerful.
Oh, okay. Let me think about those two. I'll come back to you. I'll be one of those two.
Okay, so you have a mull on that. Babs, any thoughts?
I was thinking either like a sort of cleric or a paladin or something sort of religious type, monk or something.
Yeah, all good choices. So let's see. So cleric's kind of cleric wants like high wisdom. They're sort of they get their power from their god, so they kind of you can play them quite tanky with like lots of armor, but they still want to be kind of very wise because they have some spells and wisdom is their spell casting ability. So clerics are kind of they're wise, strong spellcasters. Was it a monk? Monks are sort of like dexterity and wisdom, so they're really good at dodging. With monks, you're sort of thinking more like kind of like a kung fu movie monk rather than like a Catholic sort of habit and and tonsure monk.
Yeah.
And paladins. Yeah, you want to be a. You're thinking monk.
I'll be a monk. I've got quite high dexterity, and they're my highest ones are dexterity and maybe not wisdom, but dexterity. I'll go for being a monk. Can you have female monks?
Yeah, absolutely.
Although presumably any of us can cross dress, can't we? We can be a gender different.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to play your character as whatever gender you would like. But yeah, Great choice. So we've got quite a nice mix. We've got some sort of like we've got Mike as a kind of glass cannon, like powerful spellcaster. We've got Justin kind of as a ranger, has like a good, like, they're quite versatile in that you can play them very close up in melee, like fighting with kind of like short swords. You can also play them as more of a distance fighter with a bow and arrow. So we've got like a good mix of melee and distance. And Monk will fit in really nicely to that because they're a great sort of melee fighter. They're good with their, they've got sort of fists of fury. Lynn, any more thoughts on barbarian or paladin?
I imagine a paladin needs some wisdom, don't they?
So actually not as much as you would think. Their main stats are strength and charisma.
Oh, fair enough. And they have to have some kind of ideal, but they don't have to. Do they have to be good? Do they have to be goodies?
They don't have to be goodies. So the paladin's thing is that they swear an oath. So when we're doing our when we're picking our characters' abilities and we're like sort of picking their talents and specialisms after this, one of the things that a paladin will always pick is they'll pick an oath. So that's an ideal that they serve, and that ideal can be a god that they sort of pledged their service to. It can be more of a sort of abstract ideal like justice or truth. So as a paladin, you'll pick an oath, and that has to sort of, most paladins are sort of driven by serving their oath, but that can be an evil oath. You can pick an oath to sort of death or vengeance.
Yeah, vengeance might work. I'll be a paladin.
Yeah, vengeance paladin, great choice. So that's going to fit in nicely. So now we've all got our races, our stats, our class. Do people want to take a quick break?
A coffee break.
Yeah, coffee break.
That'd be good.
How long?
So let's take a coffee break for sort of say 10-15 minutes. Come back here at like 10 past 2.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Great stuff.
Yep.
Lovely.
Thank you, Lou.
Fantastic.
Cheers,
Okay,
guys.
thanks very
everyone.
much.
See you after the break.
See you later.
Well, welcome back, everybody. So now that we have picked rolled our stats, picked our races, picked our classes, things start to get even more interesting because we're on to picking our abilities and leveling up your characters. So we're going to be playing. Your characters are all going to be level 3 by the time we start when we play the game. Mainly because first level characters they're fun to play for a little bit, but they don't have very high hit points. They're quite easy to kill, and we'd like you ideally all to survive the experience of the game. So we're going to level you up to level 3. What that means in practice is each of the classes you have all picked, they all have different abilities and different things that they're good at. Some of those things are just automatic, so as soon as you pick the class, you get those abilities. So we're not going to go through them in too much detail in this session. I'm going to send those to you in your character sheets afterwards, so you can look over them at your leisure. But some of the things that come with a class are things that you choose. So we talked about paladins having to pick an oath, and it's the same for every class. Every class has choices they need to make, and those choices might be about fighting style. They might be about kind of what special talents your character has. So we're going to go through and choose those together now. So does anyone have a burning desire to go first? Well, I tell you what, let's start with you, Justin, because you're at the top of my screen on Google Meet.
Okay.
So we're going through your ranger, your half-elf ranger. So
Yep.
Rangers have a couple of decisions that they need to make to get up to level 3. So you need to pick. The first one is Rangers, because a Ranger's sort of special thing is that they're really good at kind of reading the land and also knowing a lot about sort of the natural world around them. So the first thing you need to pick as a Ranger is a favoured enemy and a favoured sort of terrain. So as a Ranger, you know a lot about various kind of monsters and beasts. You get to choose one particular type of monster that is kind of your favoured enemy, the one that you know the most about. and there's a kind of long list of like different. If you click through on the link to the different races that we emailed around before the session, you'll be able to see the list. But it's basically you can pick between. So there's aberrations, there's beasts, there's celestials, there's constructs, dragons, elementals, fae, fiends, giants, monstrosities, oozes, plants, or undead.
Ooh.
Well, it strikes me that undead would be a useful thing considering where we're going, doesn't it?
Yeah, could well be. Might come up.
Might come up. I think potentially I'll go with undead. I think.
Yeah, sounds like a good choice. So your ranger knows a lot about the undead, and that means that basically in practice you're going to be really good at tracking the undead. You're going to be good at your character will know a lot about the undead. You'll have like those extra insights that will help the whole party to defeat them more easily. Which who knows could come in handy.
Who knows?
So the next thing you need to pick is a favoured terrain. So just like how Aragorn is really good at all those like dramatic scenes where he's like running across the country hunting orcs because he knows the lay of the land. Your ranger's like that too. He gets to have a particular terrain that he's very, very familiar with, and that he's good at navigating. So again, your choices are Arctic, coast, desert, forest, grassland, mountain, swamp, or the Underdark, which is the Underdark is like a kind of the subterranean. There's a sort of subterranean like network of cities in D&D, but that's probably not going to come up in this game. Just as a heads up.
Okay. Do we know anything about the terrain of where we're going to be going? Am I allowed any insight into that, or should I just pick something?
I would just pick something. There's a possibility that any of these might come up.
Okay,
but, one that you think might fit your character, or
I think forest is probably the most likely to be relevant to my character. I think I probably live in the forest.
Sounds good. I mean, there are lots of elves that sort of are forest dwellers. So maybe your character maybe their family is wood elves and you've grown up in forests.
Yeah, we'll go forest.
Sounds nice. Fantastic. So the next thing you need to pick, now that you've picked your favoured terrain, your favoured enemy, the next thing is your fighting style. So you remember I said before that rangers are quite versatile. They can choose whether they want to be a good melee fighter or better at range. So your fighting style options are you can be a sort of an archery specialist and be good with ranged weapons. You can be a dueling specialist, which means you're good at wielding just one melee weapon. So a single sword. You can be a 2-weapon fighting specialist, so like a short sword in each hand. Or or like two. I think you can fight with like two sort of like small crossbows. So good at 2-weapon fighting. Or you can be a defense specialist, which means that you're not especially good at any one weapon, but you are very tanky. You've got a high kind of bonus to your armor class, so you're very well armored.
My instinct would be to go with archery, but I'm thinking with the undead, often archery is not particularly effective because they just keep going.
Silver-tipped arrows, maybe?
Yeah, well, you could sort of fire wooden stakes.
Yeah, there's that, I suppose, as well. But I was thinking potentially for this particular campaign, possibly 2-weapon fighting might be the way to go. I think
2-weapon fighting's quite fun as well because it means that you can make 2 attacks, one with your action and one with your bonus, which is always nice. Feels very effective.
I think I might go with that. I'll still be able to use a bow and arrow. I just won't get a bonus with it. Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
Okay, so yeah, I think I'll go with 2-weapon fighting.
2-weapon fighting, nice. Any idea yet what weapons you'll choose? Swords. I think small crossbows, staffs. Staves?
I think let's keep it simple and just go with short swords.
Short swords is a good choice. So you'll be Mr. Stabby or Mrs. Stabby.
Or even potentially, I mean, one long sword, one short sword, sort of an offhand.
Yeah, main hand, offhand, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's go long sword, short sword.
Great. And then the final thing that you as a ranger have to pick is your your ranger archetype. So that's sort of your ranger archetype is kind of what your special abilities are as a ranger.
Okay.
We talked before about how some rangers have animal companions.
Yep.
So that's one ranger archetype. So if you're a beast master, then your sort of special ability as a ranger is that you've got an animal companion who follows you everywhere and is your kind of faithful pet. You can
Right.
also be, so there are a couple of others. There's the Gloom Stalker. That's a ranger who is really sort of good at being stealthy and secretive. So they're good at hiding in the shadows.
Mhm.
Then there's the Horizon Walker. That's a slightly more kind of magical ranger. Their special ability is that they're good at portal magic. They're good at detecting the presence of extraplanar portals and harvesting some of the power from those portals to aid their own attacks.
Okay.
Then there's the Hunter. The Hunter is very good at that sort of, how you picked your favorite enemy. The Hunter takes that even further and allows you to specialize further in either sort of hunting like large groups of enemies. So like you could sort of specialize in fighting zombie hordes, or you could specialize in fighting one big strong enemy. Like you could specialize in fighting, say liches. So that sort of takes the specialization one step further. And then finally, there's the Monster Slayer, who sort of his thing is that he knows, like he's very good at knowing a lot about a monster's weaknesses. And sort of how to fight them effectively.
Okay. I think I quite like the idea of the hunter and being able to effectively fight the hordes of zombies. That sounds cool.
Great. Yeah, that could be very relevant in this campaign.
Nice.
So in that case, you'll be a hunter, and your sort of subspecialism within that will be horde breaker. Which
Cool.
makes you just more effective at attacking lots of different creatures that are all kind of bunched together.
Nice.
Excellent choices. So I believe that is all the choices you need to make as a ranger at 3rd level.
Cool.
And you'll get a few kind of extra bonuses that just come naturally with being a ranger. So kind of like some starting kit and things like that as well. But I will send you details of that after this session to peruse at your leisure. Who would like to go next? So we've got our wizard, we've got our monk, we've got our paladin still left to talk through.
Okay, I'll go next.
Great, wizard. So one of the big things for wizards is obviously having lots of spells. We are going to pick spells again outside of the session because there's lots to go through, as I'm sure you know from playing spellcasting characters before, Mike.
Yeah.
So we'll go through that sort of separately. At 3rd level, I believe you will want 10 spells. 8 of those will be at 1st level, and 2 of those can be up to 2nd level. So you're going to have a large number of spells. A huge variety there.
How many slots do I get? How many spells can I use in a session?
So you'll have 6 spell slots. 2 of them will be at 2nd level, and 4 of them will be at 1st level.
Okay, cool.
So you're going to be very magical, full of spells. And the main choice you need to make now is you need to choose your arcane tradition. So that's kind of your school of magic, which thing you specialize in. So you've got quite a lot of choices, and most of them do pretty much what they say on the tin. So there's abjuration magic, which is all about banishing things and sort of like banishing things and blocking things and it's protective magic. You've got Blade Singer. That's more sort of that's the kind of magic that makes you good in combat. It sort of makes you, it can sort of temporarily shield you or make you sort of stronger or better at hitting things. You've got Conjuration, which is about conjuring things. Divination, which is about looking forward into the future and kind of anticipating enemy attacks. Enchantment, which is about sort of boosting yourself and others, magically enhancing or entrancing or beguiling people. Evocation, which is mostly about blowing things up. Illusion, which is exactly what it sounds like, so sort of illusory landscapes, illusory kind of images. Necromancy, which is summoning the dead to do your bidding. Transmutation, which is sort of altering the nature of energy and matter, so changing one thing into another thing. And finally, war magic, which is a little bit like Blade Singer. It's sort of like combat magic. So it's a little bit of a blend between evocation and abjuration. So sort of protective spells and explosive spells to wreak havoc on a battlefield.
I was going to say abjuration until you got to that last one. Are any of the abjuration spells specifically sort of to do with undead creatures or evil creatures, fiends?
I believe that there will be some. Yeah, I'm just having a look at the spell list for wizards now, and sorting it by type.
I'll take the last one. The last one that's sort of got a bit of abjuration and a bit of blowing stuff up.
Yeah, war magic. That's nice because it's kind of a good combination, and wizards love blowing things up.
Yeah.
I feel that will go really well with your kind of arrogant personality and your lack of charisma. Can't sweet talk a guard? Fireball. And just like with Ranger, you get some sort of some additional kind of automatic abilities that come with being a wizard that I'll send to you kind of afterwards in your character sheet.
Okay.
That's the only thing you need to pick for now. No worries. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next.
Brilliant. So, Lynn, you are a paladin. And the main thing for you to pick going up to 3rd level, just like the ranger, you need to pick a fighting style. You've got a few more options than the ranger because paladins are sort of, fighting is their main thing. So just like the ranger, you can be a defense specialist, which means you've got a bonus to your armor class, so you're very heavily armored. You can be a dueling specialist, so that's about having a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapons. You can be a great weapon fighter as well. A great weapon fighter is someone who fights with like a two-handed weapon, so like a great sword or a great axe. You can be a protection specialist, which is all about sort of using your abilities to protect yourself and your allies from other creatures' attacks, giving them disadvantage to attack you, and it's about sort of wielding a shield to do that, to protect yourself.
Okay, how's that different from defense magic? A defense
So the defense specialist just has a bonus to their armor class, which means they're sort of heavily armored.
Oh, okay.
The protection specialist is is someone who uses a shield to impose disadvantage on people attacking them.
Okay.
So you've got those two kind of more defensive, protecty ones, like defense specialist and protection specialist. You've also got dueling, which is wielding like a melee weapon in one hand. Great weapon fighting, which is one two-handed weapon, like a great sword.
Right. I think I'm going to be either dueling or melee or great weapon. Does dueling sounds a bit aristocratic? Does it have to be?
No, it doesn't have to be. I mean, great weapon fighting is the one that gives you sort of, if you want to just swing a really, really big sword or a really, really big axe, you want to be a great weapon fighter. If you would rather use a weapon that has a little bit more finesse to it, something, a little bit more delicate, then you might be a duelist instead.
Yeah, but I'm great weapon, aren't I? Okay.
It certainly does seem to fit with the character you've created so far.
Right.
You can have like an enormous club or an enormous axe, and you can hit people with it to your heart's content.
Fine, I'll have one of them.
Great, so great weapon fighter. So then the other thing you need to choose is you need to choose your oath. And your oath is basically what you're committed to as a paladin, what the cause that you hold dear. And you've got a few sort of different choices. So you can swear an oath of vengeance, which means you're all about punishing wrongdoers, possibly punishing someone specific who has wronged you in the past, or maybe just seeking out kind of bad behavior and hitting it with your axe. It's up to you. So that's vengeance. Okay. You can also be devotion, which is more goods. That's kind of righting wrongs, protecting the weak, helping like sort of further the cause of justice. You've got crown. Crown is like swearing fealty to sort of a lord or to a king and sort of seeking to maintain order. It's a kind of very lawful oath. You've got conquest, which is more about glory on the battlefield, seeking kind of military sort of glory. You've got ancients, which is kind of more druidic. That's like an oath to kind of the spirits of. It's sort of like an oath to the spirits of like nature, or kind of or the natural world. And then finally, you've got Oathbreaker. That's a real sort of like full kind of dark way of taking it. The Oathbreaker paladin is a paladin who broke whatever oath they made, and now they've gone full evil. They're sort of like a fallen angel.
Okay, I am going to be vengeance.
Yeah, I had a feeling that the vengeance was the one that would attract you. I feel like go ahead.
My clan made a deal with some undead one time, and the little buggers broke it and slaughtered my clan, and that meant I had nothing to become lord of, which naturally I was going to do. And I am out to slaughter every undead I can get my hands on.
Out for blood. Fantastic. Yeah. I feel like, the rest of you should all know, because I play a game with Lynn regularly, this is really out of type for her. She's been like a sort of a friendly dwarven bard. She's been like a sweet little, like tiny diminutive half-elf who kind of loves all living creatures and has a little pet cat. Like, this is extremely out of character, and I'm loving it.
Excellent. This is possibly the first game in a decade that I haven't been a magic user. So there we go. I'm playing against type as well.
Oh, brilliant. So we're getting a lot of playing against type. Fantastic. Everybody's going out of their comfort zone. This is great.
Can I get some magic, though?
Yes, you do get some magic. So as a paladin, you get automatically Divine Smite, which allows you to do extra damage with your melee weapon attacks. You you want to imagine kind of your weapon gets wreathed in sort of spectral flames, and it does extra damage as you bring it crashing down on your enemies.
Brilliant.
You do get some spells as well that we'll go through out of the session. So that just leaves Babs the monk.
Yeah.
So Babs, as a monk, the main things about the way that the monks work is they have key points. So as you'll be 3rd level, you're going to have 3 key points that you can spend to do sort of special things, like make your attacks do more damage or get extra attacks. The main thing that you need to choose as a 3rd level monk is you need to choose a monastic tradition. So it's a bit like the Paladin's Oath or the Ranger's archetype. It's sort of your special ability, the way you work as a monk, your talents. And you've got a lot of different options. I think... Can anybody else... I think your video may have frozen because I can't see or hear you at the moment, Babs.
No, I'm the same. I can hear her, but I can't see her moving.
I can't see or hear.
Now
I can hear you. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. I can see everybody here. Everybody. Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. Brilliant. In that case, I will. I'll take you through the different monastic traditions you can choose. So you've got quite a few. The first one is Drunken Master. I don't know if you've ever seen those kind of martial arts movies with the fighters who kind of have... the Drunken Master style is all about kind of weaving around and making very erratic movements to throw off and confuse your enemies. So that's Drunken Master. There's the way of the 4 elements. A 4 elements monk is more like, has anyone seen Avatar: The Last Airbender? where you can control the powers of earth, air, water, and fire. That's a 4 elements monk. You've got some power over the elements, and you get some spell casting that lets you create sort of effects with fire, with earth, with water, or with air. The next one is the Way of the Kensei. They're weapon specialist monks, so most monks are best at unarmed fighting, but a Way of the Kensei monk fights more with a greater variety of kind of interesting weapons. There's the Way of the Long Death. Long Death monks are pretty creepy. They're good at kind of harvesting life force from their enemies to help improve their own health. So kind of scary, health draining dark monks. There's the Way of the Open Hand. That's like if you've ever seen sort of a martial arts movie where somebody like punches someone and sends them flying across the room and through a window, or punches someone and then says, now your heart will stop in 10 seconds. It's fancy sort of fancy martial arts moves without a weapon, sort of using your fists to do crazy things. There's the Way of the Shadow, which is all about hiding and being sort of stealthy. And also kind of using a little bit of the power of magical darkness to confuse your enemies. And then finally, there's the Way of the Sun Soul. This is the only monastic tradition that lets you fight at range as well as in melee, because Sun Soul monks can shoot little bolts of radiant light out of their fists. Just, shoot fire out of their fists at their enemies from a distance, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, there's probably no point draining life from a zombie or something. They're not going to have much health, so that's probably not a very good one for that. I think maybe the elements. I quite like the element one.
Yeah, Way of the 4 Elements. That's a really fun one. It's quite versatile as well, because you get to sort of choose. So as a disciple of the elements, you get a few spells that I'll go through with you after, and you can you've got some choice over whether those spells are more fiery, more to do with water. So you've got it's quite a fun one, quite a sort of one that you can take in lots of different directions. Brilliant. So now that we've all picked our abilities, the other thing that we need to do is pick our skills. So how much do you all know about the different skills in D&D?
A little bit.
Some.
So skills are sort of like things that your characters are good at beyond their class. So there's a sort of fixed set of skills, which I will take you through. And those are acrobatics, animal handling, arcana, athletics, deception, history, insight, intimidation, investigation, medicine, nature, perception, performance, persuasion, religion, sleight of hand, stealth, and survival. But you don't need to remember all of those, because each class kind of has its own natural specialisms, things that they're slightly sort of better at, and you get to pick between them. So if we go first with Ranger, I've just accidentally closed the window I was using to determine what skills you had the choice of. Just give me 1 second, everyone. Talk among yourselves.
So zombies, eh? Can't live with them because they're not alive.
Can't
That's
get
true.
the steak in the right place quick enough. Actually, no, you don't use stakes on zombies, do you?
No,
Zombies have to blow their heads off.
Yeah, usually it's the head, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, I'm just thinking, if among the bad guys we meet are vampires, then a battle axe is not going to be much use, is it? You need a stake.
Well, I'm sure
I
there's going
suppose
to
if
be
you take their heads off.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's pretty unanswerable. It's hard for anybody to come back from that, vampire or no.
Thing is, Justin, you're going to be an undead specialist, and I'm just going to want to smash them.
Excellent.
Sure we'll.
I'm just going to stay out of your way.
So I think we have this thing where you say, no, we need to use this particular technique because this will work, and I'm just going Hulk smash.
Well, what you lack in expertise, I'm sure you're more than make up for in enthusiasm, Lynn.
And brute force, basically.
Oh, I hope so. I've never actually had brute force before.
Well,
Right.
you get to go first. I'll stand behind you.
Yeah,
We-
we want to. Go
We
ahead.
had an orcish character in our party one time whose name was Cannon Fodder Meatshield.
Oh, yes. Cannon fodder was great fun. Right, I've got the ranger
Excellent.
skills up, Justin. So
Uh-huh.
you get to pick 3 skills to be sort of a specialist in, and
Mhm.
and you get to choose 3 from animal handling, athletics, insight, investigation, nature, perception, stealth, and survival. Do you want me to take you through a quick rundown of what each of those is?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a relatively decent idea, but yeah, give me a rundown.
Most of them are kind of what they say on the tin, but animal
Sure.
handling is just like how good you are at kind of, so like interacting with friendly animals in the environment, making
Sure.
friends with squirrels and things. Athletics is feats of strength, like kicking indoors. Insight is your judge of character, so telling if someone is lying, for example.
Mhm.
Investigation is kind of Sherlock Holmes, like spotting, ferreting out clues and piecing together puzzles.
Mhm.
Nature is your knowledge of the natural world. Perception is just being able to, spot things, so seeing traps or like sort of hidden compartments. Stealth is sneaking around, and survival is things like tracking. Tracking and kind of knowing the lay of the land again, like a good
Okay.
kind of ranger ability. So you get to pick
Sure.
3.
I think. I mean, survival is, if that's tracking and stuff. I think that's an easy one. So I'll take survival. I think perception as well will be useful, and then let's go with. Let's go with stealth as well.
Those are 3 really good ones. I mean, perception comes in all the time for kind of
Yeah.
making, checking for ambushes and traps. And stealth is
Absolutely.
always useful for sneaking up on your enemies.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do that. So let's go perception, stealth, and survival.
Brilliant. Great choices. So if we do Mike next with the wizards. So your skills are more intelligence-based, Mike. You get to choose 2 from Arcana, History, Insight, Investigation, Medicine, and Religion. So Arcana, History, and Religion are basically all the same. It's just how much you know about those topics. How much you know about magic, how much you know about the history of wherever you are, and how much you know about, religion and the gods. Insight's the one about reading people, telling if they're lying. Investigation is the one about sort of piecing together clues. And medicine is your knowledge of the healing arts. It doesn't really, having a high medicine skill proficiency doesn't necessarily mean that you can heal people, because you need sort of magic or a potion to do that. But having a high medicine might mean, say, that you could bandage a wound or staunch bleeding.
Okay. I have a feeling that my insight into other people, other sentient beings, is going to be terrible because I'm really not that interested in them. So I think it's going to be Arcana and Investigation. I'm good at the forensics, but bad at the human side of the equation.
Good choices. So now if we do Lynn with your Paladin, you get to choose 2 skills from Athletics, Insight, Intimidation, Medicine, Persuasion, and Religion. So you've got kind of more of an eclectic mix. You've got kind of strength-based ones like Athletics, which is sort of kicking indoors. You've got Persuasion and Intimidation, which are 2 charisma-based skills. They're just 2 sides of the same coin. Persuasion is sweet-talking and Intimidation is threatening. And then Medicine, Insight, and Religion, which we've already talked about.
And I get 2 of those?
You get 2 of those, that's right.
Right, I'm definitely going to have athletics.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'll go with intimidation.
Intimidation is always lots of fun. And then finally, Babs, your monk gets 2 skills from acrobatics, athletics, history, insight, religion, and stealth. So acrobatics is a dexterity-based skill. It's about sort of where athletics is more sort of about like kicking things and hitting things. Acrobatics is more about sort of like high jumps and nimbleness. So like tightrope walking, that would be a kind of acrobatics style skill. And then you've got history and religion, which is your knowledge of those topics. Insight for reading people, and stealth for sneaking.
Oh, I want stealth, definitely. I'll go for stealth and insight.
Yeah, those are nice ones to have. Insight's really fun because it can sort of, if you've got like a, if you meet someone on your travels who seems friendly but you're not sure about them, you can use your insight to see if they're on the level or if maybe they're hiding something. So I like insight. I play a monk in our game as well, so it's always nice to. I like reading people. I like shooting fire from my hands. I think it's a great class. I'm very much a fan. So now that we've done all of the, this is all kind of the most of the technical stuff out of the way. Now we get on to the more kind of character creation side of things. So who are your characters as people? What are they like? And what that's going to involve is we're going to pick backgrounds for our characters. We're going to pick traits, ideals, and flaws. You're all going to pick bonds, so how your characters are connected to one another. And then finally, we'll do that magic item lucky dip that I told you about at the start. So you should have gotten a link that we sent out before the session to character backgrounds, which gives you a list of backgrounds that you can choose from. You don't absolutely have to choose from these backgrounds, so there are quite a lot of them there, but they have the benefit that they all come with kind of a couple of like special abilities or sort of useful additional things. So for example, if you take the acolyte background, you get some extra skills. You get extra skill in insight and religion. And you get a feature called Shelter of the Faithful. That means because you're an acolyte, because you because you spent your life in service to a temple, wherever you go, if you ever find a kind of a house of religion, you'll always be welcome there. You'll always have a place to stay. So all the backgrounds come with nice, like flavorsome, but also kind of helpful details like that. So do people want to have a minute to sort of have a skim through, have a think about what kind of background your characters might have?
Can I go first?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm thinking just in terms of the way my stats work. Pathetic strength and constitution, terrible charisma, really sharp intelligence, quite a good knowledge base. I think I've probably lived absolutely secluded from the world. I think I've been shut up in Wizards College in some remote mountain fastness, for 20 years or more. We started to notice more and more undead coming through. And being an arrogant sod, I thought, oh, okay, so I'll have to go out into the world and sort this shit out.
Nice, I like that. So, in terms of what background that might play well to, you could do a kind of... sorry.
Civic scientist? The sort of researcher, or?
Yeah, no, that's I'm just looking that up on the list. Scientist. Oh, it's right at the bottom. That's why I couldn't see it. Yeah. Civic scientist. I like it. So kind of knowledgeable but cloistered.
Yep.
So let me just. So that's actually one of the new backgrounds from the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. So it gives you. Never actually played this one before, so I'm just. What does it give you? Okay, yeah. So it's a good choice for that kind of like cloistered, like sheltered life. It gives you like additional skill proficiencies in Arcana and Medicine because of your sort of because of all of the studying you have done. It also gives you 2 languages. That's something that we can pick after the session, but
Okay.
something for you to think about. So, you're also something of a linguist. And it gives you, you also have the opportunity, if you'd like, to choose like a sort of a clade. So almost like a specialism in your studies, something that you focused on in your like in your training as a wizard in sort of Forgotten Realms Hogwarts.
Okay.
You can roll a d6 to determine your research if you'd like, or you can pick from a list. There's sort of there's research focused on kind of protection and durability, which might play well to your kind of your war magic, magic school. There's one that's focused on kind of movement and dexterity. There's one that's focused on meta magic and kind of studying the nature of magic itself. There's one that's focused on kind of creating magical constructs, like golems.
Like golems. Oh my god, it's got to be that one. I want to be a golemist.
Great. So your speciality is creating crazy magical constructs to do your bidding. Love it. Fantastic. Does anyone else have any thoughts?
I'm considering Hermit.
Yeah.
Hermit, nice.
Medicine feels like it. I don't know that anybody in the party has any kind of healing abilities so far. It feels like medicine might be something helpful.
Yes. Medicine's always useful for stabilizing fallen allies. And
I also think that it fits with the way my character's developing as well, that he probably is a bit of a hermit. So, yeah.
Yeah, so medicine and religion. And you also get proficiency with a herbalism kit, which is fun. You can make sort of basic herbal remedies as a hermit.
Nice.
Which is fun. So maybe you can make some sort of like healing teas.
Yes, that sounds like a useful skill. Yes, I'll go with hermit.
So why did your character become a hermit? What drove them into their life of seclusion?
Prejudice from both the elves and the humans, because he was neither one nor the other.
That's so sad. Such a tragic backstory.
Yeah, so he went into the forest and made his own life and resents everybody.
And brewed tea from magic mushrooms.
Absolutely, learned how to keep himself alive and heal his own wounds and survive in the forest.
Great. So we've got kind of one character who's lived a life of seclusion by choice in Forgotten Realms Hogwarts, and we've got another character who was driven to this life of seclusion and forced to become self-sufficient by prejudice.
Indeed.
Brilliant.
And also, I think similarly to Mike's character, has found the undead kind of randomly invading my forest-dwelling life, and therefore having to learn how to kill them and expel them.
Nice. So both of you as well have I like these kind of backstory reasons to bring you into the adventure. This is great. Lynn, Babs, do either of you have any thoughts?
I've got a background, but I can't map it onto one of the ones that I've just been looking at. I think my guy I think he's going to be male, and I think was a bit of a good old boy and was getting on perfectly well in a clan and was scheduled for great things. I hate to say it, but I'm still thinking of him as a bit Boris Johnson. And then all of a sudden, the clan starts
Boris
playing
Johnson with an axe.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's a terrifying thought.
It is terrifying. He doesn't have Boris Johnson's low cunning, but I think possibly he's going to compensate for that by having slightly more scruples.
That's another low bar.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, he can learn on the job. You lot can give him some morals along the way. And I think what happened was his family, who are high up in the clan, decided to play politics and got into an alliance with some undead who went back on it and slaughtered most of the clan, and killing off a lot of his friends and all his prospects. So he still thinks he's all that, but he's just sworn an oath of vengeance against all undead. and he's out trying to just get his own back.
Nice, I like that. And in terms of backgrounds from the list, that might fit quite well with the Haunted One background, which actually is a new background for Curse of Strahd. So
Okay.
you are haunted by something so terrible that you dare not speak of it. You've
Oh,
tried
really?
to bury come from it to no avail. Whatever this thing is that haunts you can't be slain with a sword or banished with a spell. It might come to you as a shadow on the wall, a blood-curdling nightmare, or a memory that refuses to die. The burden has taken its toll, isolating you from most people and making you question your sanity. You must find a way to overcome it before it destroys you.
Okay.
So maybe a slightly less kind of emo version of that.
But can I do all that without any introspection?
Absolutely. Nobody needs to have introspection in this game if they don't want to.
Okay, because I honestly don't think this guy's got any introspection at all.
But definitely it sounds like you've got a sort of, a dark tragedy in your past, and you've decided to overcome that the only way you know how, with a huge axe.
Fair enough.
And a lot of rage.
That sounds like Lynn.
Although I hope you'll let me have a steak as well, just in case.
Absolutely, you can have as many sharp, pointy objects as you like. This is, this is a pointy object inclusive game. We welcome, all the stabby implements.
Thank you.
How about you, Babs?
Yeah, okay, I can't get the list up just now. My computer's playing up a bit, but I'm a female monk, and I've got a little bit of a chip on my shoulder thing. I'm trying to show people that I'm worthy and better, or whatever. I feel a wee bit to other people. So I'm hoping to prove myself in everything that I do. That sort of background. Nice,
I like it. Do you think that that's going to cause, so I imagine, you might strike sparks off of Mike's character being so sort of...
I think so, yes. Yes.
I think you won't be the only one either. So in terms of a background that might fit with, so let's have a think. So what kind of so your monastic order, Babs, do you think that you're a monk who sort of serves a particular god, or are you more sort of a monk through your devotion to discipline and training?
I think discipline and training will not be too hot in the gods, just the mind discipline.
So you could be, I'm just having a flick through the list now to see what might be like useful if you wanted to. So you could be an acolyte, which is more sort of, that's more religious though. You could also be kind of you could have like the background of a cloistered scholar. Maybe if your monastic order was very much about sort of learning and sort of perfecting the mind as well as the body, you could have this background of cloistered scholar, which is about having sort of studied. Again, it's quite an isolated one. Which seems to be a theme that's developing. You could also be, let's see, what else? Depending on how you became a monk and what you were before, you could have like the noble background. Maybe you came from a wealthy family and you decided to leave it all behind and join this sort of this order.
I think I was a pole dancer, actually.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
That
Okay.
is fantastic.
If I'm Boris Johnson Orc, does that mean I've got to hit on you?
You can try.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Remember that Babs can, probably literally shoot fire at you if you, if you make a wrong move. So let's see. What would be a good background for you? You could have then you could have like the charlatan background. If your past as a pole dancer is something that you've been trying to escape, you've maybe kind of like it's maybe something that you're trying to put behind you. But possibly when you were a pole dancer, if you also maybe were a bit of a pickpocket as well, maybe sort of engaged in some underhand thievery, you could have the charlatan background, which is a sort of background where you had this like slightly seedy criminal past.
Oh, that sounds good.
Brilliant.
It's
So-
fun. I've been there. It's really fun.
Yeah, it can lead
I
to
like
some.
this to be passed.
It can lead to some kind of fun situations. We've had games before where one character's had the charlatan. Actually, we had a Charlatan Background monk in our last game. He was this sort of really holier than thou monk, very kind of pious. But he had this secret background where he used to be basically a gangster, and he hadn't told any of the other characters about it. So they kept asking him how he knew how to pick locks, and he was like, "I'd just rather not talk about it." So that can lead to some really fun situations. So if you've got the Charlatan background, you get some extra proficiencies in sleight of hand and deception, which is nice. And you also get the ability to you've got a false identity. So possibly you've kept a sort of a second identity from your pole dancing days that you can reactivate whenever you need to pretend to be someone else. Which is quite fun.
Sort of drop back into the criminal underworld kind of thing.
Anytime you like. And I believe I'm just checking if there's any other neat things any of you get from your backgrounds. Just give me 1 second. So I think as yeah, I think that is mostly that's mostly it for backgrounds. So we now get to move on to traits, ideals, and flaws. So these are your kind of your characters, kind of who they are now. We've talked about where they're from. Now we're talking about who they are right now, what's important to them, maybe what are their sort of weaker qualities, what are their stronger qualities. You can roll for these, so each background comes with its associated list of traits, ideals, and flaws. So you can just roll a random dice to kind of determine them, or you might already, it seems like a lot of you already have kind of ideas in mind. So if we go, does anyone have any ideas that they'd like to start with for traits, ideals, and flaws?
I think mine are fairly obvious. I revere knowledge for its own sake. I've dedicated my life to the pursuit of it. I feel like I'm slumming it a bit, leaving my ivory tower to fix the broken world. I'm terrible with people. I'm not empathetic. I'm impatient. But I guess I'm sharp and quick. I'm good at anything that's just logistical and doesn't have a human side to it.
Nice. So kind of the things that you hold dear are kind of knowledge and learning. The things you're you're good at those are the things you're good at as well. But people, not so much.
Right.
That's going to be lots of fun. Anybody else? Would anyone like to roll for their traits and flaws?
I might roll for mine.
All right, Babs, on you go.
You like to roll for yours, Babs?
I'll roll for mine, yes, when we get onto
Great.
it.
So
here we are. To roll.
So you can roll. So for your trait, it's a D8. For your ideal, it's a D6, and for your flaw, it's another D6. So 2 D6s and a D8.
A D8 first, then. So I like D8. Right.
So is that a 3 on the D8?
That's a 3, yes.
Great. So that means that your personality trait is flattery is my preferred trick for getting what I want.
Oh, I like that.
So you're a flatterer.
I like
That works with your background as a pole dancer.
Yeah,
it does, yes.
feels very appropriate. So now we need 1d6 for your flaw and 1d6 for your ideal.
Right. So
3 again.
3.
So that means your ideal. Interesting. So your ideal is charity. I distribute the money I acquire to people who really need it.
Wow.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, so you're a kind-hearted, charitable character.
That's nice.
And
And
then
one more.
Yeah,
A
one
pole
more
dancer with a
d6
heart of
for your
gold.
floor. Ooh, 6. Ooh, this one's an interesting one. I hate to admit it, but I'll run and preserve my own hide if the going gets tough.
Yes, that sounds good.
Useful one for your fellow adventurers to know.
Thanks for that.
Maybe they
Yeah,
could
that's
have known
great.
that. Should have kept that secret.
Justin, did you have thoughts, or did you want to roll?
No, I think so. I'm a grumpy sort who doesn't deal well with other people because of the resentment that I have towards both elves and humans in particular. Don't get along well with either race. Prefer the company of animals and the solitary aspect of the forest, but I think probably quite defensive of nature as well. So I've been quite, with the undead invading my forest and damaging nature and attacking the animals and such. That's got my ire up, and I'm pretty angry about that.
Nice, I like that. So your ideal is nature and preserving the natural world,
Yeah.
and all your best friends are trees.
trees and animals, basically. Yeah.
I like that. So you're kind of this hermit living in the forest with a kind of Cinderella style setup where you talk to all the little mice and birds.
Yeah.
I like that. That's fantastic. And your flaw is sorry, what did you say? Was that maybe you're sort of
quite grumpy, maybe quick to temper, particularly with elves and humans.
Mm-hmm. Maybe also a little suspicious of their motivations, seeing the worst.
Yep.
Nice. I like it. That's going to lead to some excellent inter character conflict.
Yeah.
How about you, Lynn? Would you like to roll, or do you have thoughts?
Well, I know that I've got a certain charm and I can win people over. I'm thick as a brick, but it doesn't show. I definitely think I'm better at everything than I actually am, but I don't know if that counts as a flaw on its own. And I've no idea either what my ideals or my bonds would be.
You can roll on them if you would like. So, what background did we go for you again?
I've got the haunted horror, although I don't think I have enough introspection for it really. It's like there might be a haunted horror hanging over me and I'm probably too dumb to notice it most of the time. But something awful has happened. Most of my tribe was wiped out after a very, very ill-advised pact with some undead. I'm not quite sure what the undead are. And I'm after the undead and I will kill them or die trying. I think I've had lots and lots of friends, nobody I ever really loved particularly. And I'm quite good at making agreements and pacts with people, but absolutely no good at trusting anyone.
Okay.
But I'm going to be a lot more gregarious, at least on the surface, than either of these two elfish types.
So the same kind of the same trust issues, but a much more friendly exterior.
Yes,
which is ironic because you're the orc, which I think is traditionally in D&D a race who is sort of held in a little bit of awe, if not fear, by some of the others because you're absolutely enormous and tough as nails.
Plus, I've also, according to, I was just looking up the background, and it says I've got Heart of Darkness, which is people who look into your eyes know that you've seen the dark side of life, and they're all terribly eager to help you. Presumably out of complete terror.
Sorry, go on.
So I think I'm going to be interested. I think I'm going to find both the elf and the half elf very sort of hard to deal with, and probably try to cozy up with the human who isn't necessarily going to like it very much.
Which brings us on really neatly to our final part of character creation, which is our bonds. So to sort of to help your characters all have a reason to be adventuring together, what I'd like you all to do is to create bonds with each other. So you're going to each create a bond with one other character, and that can be sort of a reason you respect them, possibly a reason you detest them, maybe a previous relation with them if you like. Maybe you know them from your past, or they're a figure from your history. So you're each going to do a bond with one other character. So Justin, I'd like you to make a bond with Lynn. Lynn, I'd like you to make a bond with Bob. Then Bob with Mike, and Mike with Justin.
Okay.
But when you say, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think maybe with Lynn's history of having lost all of her friends and family, I maybe feel an empathy for her because I have the same solitary existence and a lack of friends and family. So I think perhaps I feel a connection with her because we share that same solitariness.
Nice, kind of kinship. That's great.
Yeah.
What about you, Lynn, with Bob?
I guess I admire her because I see in her a fellow survivor. I mean, just because she's obviously come from the rough side of life. I probably fancy her. Sorry about this.
So you fancy her even though she could probably literally punch your head off of your shoulders?
Yeah, but I'm not aware of that because I'm big and stupid. And also because I think I'm charming, and why would she ever want to punch my head off?
Fantastic. Oh, you're all going to be at each other's throats. I love it. It's great. So, Bob, what about your bond with Mike?
I don't think it's a very good one, I'm afraid. I don't think he would appreciate pole dancers. And maybe I had a poster of him when I was a kid and he let me down, So I don't know. I don't think we'll get on very well.
So some kind of troubled relationship there. I mean, your characters are quite different. And I suppose one big difference between your characters is you're sort of a monk in peak physical condition, and he is probably like quite a tiny, weedy wizard.
Scrawny elf.
Scrawny little elf. So possibly there's a troubled relationship there.
Yeah, not Brad Pitt or.
And what about you, Mike? Your bond with Justin?
It took me a while to figure Justin out. It seems, from our backgrounds, we kind of have a lot in common. We both live sequestered from the world, and I'm a full elf, and he's a half elf. So I quite approve of him in a really condescending way. And and then I'm mystified when he doesn't sort of seem to know his place. It's obvious he should be following my lead and deferring to my decisions, but he never does. So I'm prepared to sort of I'm prepared to give him a sort of respect, provided he takes a subordinate position. But for some mystifying reason, he doesn't get it.
So, Mike, you're trying to kind of get Justin to obey your every word, and he hates that. And Lynn, you keep trying to flirt with Babs, and I imagine her monk's not going to like that. I give you guys maybe half an hour. You are a couple of troublemakers. Which actually reminds me, one other thing we need to do with character creation is names. Does anyone have any thoughts now, or would you rather have a mull on it and email me thoughts after the session? It's completely up to you.
Well, I had a thought. I thought my name would be Panda. My pole dancing name's Panda to me.
Sorry, say it again?
My ex pole dancing name, which I've kept, is Panda.
Brilliant.
And would be Panda to me.
Great. Fantastic. Anyone else, or you're welcome to email after the session if you don't have any ideas at the top of your mind right now.
I don't. I'll come up with something.
Yeah, I'll come up. I think probably I'm Amet Arcanor.
Amet Arcanor. I like it. That even kind of has quite an arrogant ring to it, doesn't it? Amet Arcanor.
Okay, my guy's going to be Bogran.
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 Were you thinking of Bojo?
Probably. Oh God! Now you've done it. I was just thinking Borg is a good sounding starter for a name for an orc, and I've oh God. Okay. Am I going to lead into this?
It might explain a lot, actually.
Okay, Boggaran. Bogharan.
Boggaran. Brilliant. So we've got one more thing to do before we wrap up, everyone. And thank you again so much for your patience and for these excellent characters you've created. I can't wait to see how they all interact. And the last thing we have to do is the magic item Lucky Dip. So you remember I told you at the start, I've rolled up a couple of magic items for you all. There's enough for everyone to have 2 each, and they range from the really quite good to the really bafflingly awful. So I'd like you all to roll me 2 d8s from my choice of 8, and I will give you each 2 magic items from the list.
2, okay.
Alright, exciting. Let's go through. So, if we start with who rolled first? Was that you, Mike?
I think it was me. Yeah.
So you rolled a 7 and a 3. So the first item you got, Mike, is you get a big shiny ruby, the ruby of the War Mage. And this ruby allows you to use it allows you to use a weapon as a spellcasting focus. So quite a good one for you as a wizard. Normally wizards would use a component, like they would you have to have a pouch of like magical components or magical reagents to cast their spells. You can use a weapon of your choice as a focus for your spells instead. All you need to do is press the ruby into the hilt.
Ooh, nice.
So your first one is the Ruby of the War Mage. Your second one, 7. Second one, an interesting one, you get the Eyes of the Eagle. So these are, it says a pair of crystal lenses. Basically, it's a pair of glasses that give you advantage on perception checks. And quite good for you as a high elf, because they basically give you Legolas's elf eyes. You can see things from a great distance away, even if they're really small.
I probably made them myself, didn't I, during my research days?
Yeah, quite possibly. So you've got sort of super glasses and a big old ruby.
The super glasses go with the nerdy backstory as well, don't they? Very few elves actually wear glasses.
Quite fitting. Brilliant. So then we've got you, Lynn, with a 6 and a 7. So that means you've got... Ooh, interesting. So you get a potion of mind reading.
Good grief, okay.
So that's a single-use potion that will let you read another person's thoughts. Could be useful for finding somebody's true intentions. I'll send you all the details of how it works after the session. I should add, you're perfectly welcome to swap these around between your characters if you like. But yeah, one potion of mind reading for you, Lynn, and your other item is 7, so that would now be... you get Pipes of the Sewers.
What?
So this is I suppose it's essentially like a set of panpipes, a magical set of panpipes that you can use 3 times a day to summon a swarm of rats. Kind of Pied Piper of Hamelin style.
Nice.
So when you play the pipes, a swarm of rats will come to you. They won't necessarily be friendly to you, but you need to make a charisma check, a contested charisma check against the rats' wisdom. And if you beat the rats in that charisma check, then they become friendly to you and will do your bidding, attack your enemies, follow your orders. So, pet rats for you, Lynn.
I suspect I probably used to eat rats.
Oh, snack rats for you, then.
That's quite handy though, because aren't you quite charismatic, Lynn? So your
I am
charisma
quite
check-
charismatic, yes.
Your charisma check's going to be a good thing to have to check against.
So yeah, you can summon these subservient rats, and they'll do your bidding, or at the very worst, you'll have meals on wheels.
Fair enough.
So Justin,
Wow.
you've got a 1 and a 7, so that'll be. Oh dear, you got one of the bad ones. Well, I don't know, maybe not. So you get your first one is the Tankard of Sobriety. So there's a stern, frowning face sculpted into one side of this tankard. It has the ability that any non-magical alcoholic beverage that you pour in here will not make you drunk, no matter how much you drink of it.
Fair
it's
enough.
the Tankard of Sobriety, and whatever you drink from it will keep you stone cold sober.
Okay, that's interesting.
It goes with the personality, doesn't it?
I can't
Yeah.
immediately think of a use for that, but drinking contest. Camden has
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
suggested you could.
Also, getting somebody else drunk to get information out of them while they think
Yeah.
I get drunk too.
Absolutely.
That's ingenious. So it
So
could
you do-
actually end up being very useful.
So you
Yeah.
do have to sort of agree to drink with someone.
Indeed, which is unlikely. But hey,
And your other one is quite interesting. You get the dust of sneezing and choking. So this is a sort of little pouch of powder. It's single use. As an action, you can throw it into the air, and you and every creature around you that breathes, every breathing creature around you has to make a Constitution saving throw, I believe. And if it fails that throw, it becomes unable to breathe and begins constantly sneezing. So it's a sort of choking, sneeze-inducing dust. Possibly good for creating a distraction because it's of quite short duration.
right.
So good for a distraction or a quick getaway. Though it has the bad effect that it will affect you too. So if you want to make everybody sneeze, this dust is for you.
Okay.
And finally, Babs, you rolled a couple of 1s, so you get a bead of nourishment. This is a sort of, it looks like a jelly bean. It's a sort of spongy, gelatinous, flavorless bead that will feed you for 1 day. So just eating this, it's kind of like a jelly bean shaped lemba spread. Eat it and it'll provide enough food for a whole day of rations. And the other thing,
better than rats.
sorry,
Better than eating rats.
it is better than rats. And the other thing you have is a first level spell scroll. I haven't actually specified a type, so you can pick it can be a spell of your choice, any spell you like of first level. You've got a scroll that will allow you to cast that spell once. And I can send you a link to a spell list after the session, so you can choose.
Right.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
And I will send these magic items around after the session as well, guys. So if you haven't gotten all the details down about exactly how your rat summoning powers work, then don't worry. Okay, fantastic, and that is everything. Thank you so
Wow.
much, everybody.
Thank you.
Lou.
Well, I'll send around character sheets and details after this. And if anyone who has spells, I'll let you know how many spells you need to pick, and I'll send you a list of them so you can pick them. And if you could just let me know which spells you've picked, I'll add that to your sheets.
Brilliant.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, thank you so much for being
Thanks,
part
that
of
was
it.
great.
Really
And
good to
we'll
meet you
see
all.
again.
It's lovely to meet you.
And we'll see you all again in a couple of weeks for the live stream of the game, which will be on the 7th of June. I'll send around more details.
Great stuff. Really
Fantastic.
looking forward
Can't
to
wait.
it. Thank
Yeah,
you,
me too.
guys. Take care.
Thanks so
Thanks
much,
very
everyone.
much.
Yes.
Good to meet you all. Cheers.
Lovely
Likewise.
to meet you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.